Hola. Welcome back to Witches of the Moon. I am the Humble Apprentice, your Friday host, and this is Season 11, Week 11. This week's topic is the use of animals in our practice and the ethics of using animals or animal parts in artwork. This topic has really made me consider my own beliefs, what I consider acceptable and what I do not accept in my life and my practice, especially someone who deals with the subtle energies of Reiki and healing energies. Death is a very, very powerful and painful, very painful energy to experience. The first time I experienced death was and I was about 5 or 6. There was a mouse that was only trapped by either its tail or hind legs. And my aunt was busy, so she had me take the mouse trap outside, and she asked me to step and kill the mouse so that it didn't continue suffering, which is a noble thing, except for a very young person to have to take a life was enlightening, transforming, but it was very, very painful. Well, first I said no, and then my aunt got mad. She said, well, I can't do it and you have to do it because the little creature is suffering. Before I even started stepping on the mouse, I was already in tears. And as I put my shoe over the mouse and crushed its bones, my heart felt like it was constricting. There was a surge of pain, like physical pain in my body. And I still remember to this day the feeling of the little bones in its body crushing and the terrible, heart-wrenching suffering that I was going through as a little mouse died. So that, I believe, that colored my perception and my ideas towards the treatment of animals in my adult life. As I was growing up, I've always been very connected to animals. Cats, dogs of any breed or any size come up to me and there's a connection. There's an immediate comfort. All of the animals that I've encountered have felt very comfortable approaching me and accepting me. So ethics are the moral principles that a person or a group of people live by and make their decisions by. It's like what is right and what is wrong. What you believe is right and what you believe is wrong. I equated to the threefold law. I have not been initiated as a Wiccan, but the read, it feels right. Because it's not about multiplication. It's not about making, you putting something out there and it coming back threefold as it increased. No. For me, it feels like it not only comes back in one form, but the fact that it is a thought, a feeling, and a physical manifestation that was created through that action. So it comes back in body, mind, and spirit. And to me, that sounds very much like karma, which is something that I do believe in very much. And I work diligently to reduce the negative karma and increase I believe they call it dharma, the positive or good karma that comes back to me because I am no longer a single individual. I am part of a group, my family, and those friends that are with me. And positive energy affects myself and everyone around me, as well as negative energy, negative outcomes affect me and those around me. So in inflicting pain, harm, or negative energy on another living being, the cycle goes out and then comes back, and it does affect, in my opinion, the person and those around them. I believe that ethics, your morals, what you believe is right and wrong, plays a huge part in your spirituality, because that is where my idea of what is right or wrong resides. I use my mind, my heart, my spirit to determine how I'm going to live my life, how I'm going to walk on this path, in what direction I want it to go. I treat others the way I want them to treat me, and that includes plants, animals, and other human beings. I view the earth and all its manifestations as an individual, a being. And therefore, I also endeavor to treat it with respect, honor, love, and admiration for all that it has given me and all that it brings into our existence. Because just as the air is not dependent on us, nor is the flow of water, nor the creation of life, we in turn are dependent on the abundance that the earth has for us, that the earth gives to us. And so I believe that it's extremely important to treat the creatures that live on this planet with us with the same amount of respect that we want them to give us. I am not a vegetarian. I am not a vegan. I understand that there is a cycle of life, but there is a way to acquire, and I'm not talking about, alternate protein sources. I am speaking about the humane and ethical treatment of beings that we are going to consume, that we are raising to be our next meal. Because that food source, that animal, that protein holds the energy of all the positive feelings and all the negative feelings that they experienced during their lifetime. And just like you want to connect with the animal spirit by taking it into you, you also connect to all of the pain and all of the sorrow and all of the humiliation and all of the mistreatment that being experienced. It is not washed away. You can treat it with reverence. You can make offerings to it, but it takes a lot to release that much mistreatment for a life. So in eating animals that have been completely unappreciated and raised in a very inhumane manner brings into your life, into your vessel, into who you are, the pain and the suffering that they experienced. So it is extremely difficult for us to raise or erase and move and remove all that energy, because we cleanse, we clean, we heal, we want to do really good for ourselves. We want to experience the joy of life, the joy of being with somebody else, the joy that we want to give to others, because that's what we want to receive. And then we're doing all this work, and we go and refill our vessels, our bodies, with energy that is full of pain and sorrow and suffering. And then we wonder why we continue feeling negative energy or sadness or pain and suffering. I understand that's that food source I need to survive, but there needs to be a way to do it where I can feel good about it. And unfortunately, at the present moment in our existence, we have not created a platform where we can raise the animals that we need for consumption in a humane and loving way, simply because of the quantity of food, the amount of food we need to produce to feed the entirety of our nation. I do not want to rant about, becoming a vegetarian or vegan. That's not my point. I'm just trying to explain why there is a lot of pain and sorrow in our existence, and we need to create. We as practitioners are moving towards growing our energies and our creative power, growing the strength to create the world that we need so that we can have the path that we want, so that we can live in the experience that we need to manifest. And those energies are very heavy and carry a lot of weight, therefore bringing us to a point where it is challenging to raise the energy that we need to manifest the life that we want. Some of the items that I use in my practice that came from an animal include eggshells. Whenever I find butterflies that have expired, that are dead, I collect them for fairy work, fairy magic. I also use just one antler to represent the masculine Cernunnos, the energy of the divine on my altar. I've also found dragonflies. They're like little flying horses for fairies. I mean, you always see that, as a representation of a vehicle that the fairies use, and it reminds me of magic, and they're so beautiful, and they can hover like helicopters, and they're just amazing. So the ones that I've found that were already dead, I pick them up and let them dry out, put them in a jar, a container. I have also picked up beetles. Oh, I love going to the beach and picking up shells, and I don't find that unethical, because the ocean gives us its bounty. The ocean puts them out. The other ones that do not come out, which are millions and billions of shells, they are grown back into sand, or they just sit at the bottom of the ocean. The ones that do come out, it is my belief that they come out or are brought forth by the ocean so that we can use them, so we can admire the beauty of the creative energy of the sea. And they are so varied and so magical, and I use them on my altar. I use them as little bowls or receptacles for either salt or water, or offering bowls. I have one in my wand, a little shell that I found. I also use pearls, and pearls are not necessarily an animal, but they are the secretion of mollusks that they use to protect themselves from an irritant. So a little grain of sand naturally would enter the oyster or scallop, or there's a few different mollusks that produce pearls. It's a secretion to protect them from that pain. But I believe, I'm not exactly sure, but I think that when you remove the pearl, you actually extract it from within the creature, so it does kill them. Let's see, other things that I love to use are feathers. I make smudge wands from feathers. I also look up the meaning of the different feathers from different birds, but I only use feathers that have been released from the birds, either in the yard, or a lot of them molt at certain times of the year, like peacocks. So I don't have any problem using feathers in my practice. They are very representative of the element of air, and if you look at them very closely, they can be very, very beautiful. I use leather and hide in like medicine bags and my shaman's rattle. I think it has hide has a certain sound, so in drums that's very difficult to replicate, made from other materials. So yeah, that's something that's important as a pagan. Drumming circles and music are integral in getting you into the mental space of joy, creativity, of moving you out of the mundane daily life and into a different frame of mind where it's much easier to manifest what it is you're working on. Other items that I use are honey and beeswax. Beeswax is not exactly an animal product. It's basically essentially taking away the home of their next generation. So yeah, it holds a huge significance and is very important for them. So making sure that it is wisely gathered. They're very busy. They're busy bees. They have a lot of energy, but yes, making sure that only the extra that they don't need is removed, as well as the honey, leaving enough for them, and taking and honoring their gift of their abundance is very important. My little cat, well, he's huge, but he's only 2 years old. His claws, if I needed to, I could definitely trim them and use them. And his fur. So any of your pets that you want to use cat's claws for protection, make sure that when you trim them that you could see the actual claw. Do not cut to the vein. That will cause them a lot of pain. If your cat's or dog's claws are too dark for you to see the vein, don't even bother. It causes them a lot of pain. My mother took her Chihuahua to the vet to have her nails trimmed because she couldn't see them very well, and the vet was careless and cut her claws very short and cut to the vein, and my mom's dog was in a lot of pain for a long time, could not walk easily, and became extremely fearful of that person. So I have become her only nail trimmer. I cut her claws, and it's very easy to tell, especially if they have a clear or translucent claw. You hold it up to the light and you trim only the tip, only to where it is not going to cause any damage to the animal. They will not appreciate it if you do. Anyway, those trimmings you can use for protection, and you have a definite connection with your pet, and you can even ask them, and I'm sure they would be very glad to help you. I hope that I had some useful information for you for this week. I am passionate about the life forms that we live with: human, animal, plant, the planet, and everything that exists around us. Thank you for watching. I am the Humble Apprentice here on Witches of the Moon. Please consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed, and sharing our video if you can. Give this video a thumbs up. Have a good weekend, and blessed be.